quite a bit, actually, about what people do with what they find in the Christian Bible, or what they've been told is in there. I have a series called Does the Bible Tell You So? Just looking at lots of different topics in terms of what people turn to the Bible for and what they see in there, and does the Bible actually say that sex before marriage is a sin, and all those kinds of things. And I've done a few videos in that series related to the topic of homosexuality, and specifically addressing what I think is a bit of a misunderstanding of the story related to Sodom in the book of Genesis, in chapter 19 of Genesis. I've done a couple different videos related to that. I've also addressed it in another series I'm doing on just reading through biblical passages that touch on topics such related to sex, the relationships we call marriage, and physical harm involving intimate body parts. So this is a conversation that comes up a bit from a lot of different directions in the work I do. And I thought I'd do this kind of little extra here on the side because I'm working through, for that second series, I'm working through the Gospel of Matthew. And I realized that there are a couple passages that refer to Sodom or Sodom and Gomorrah. So I thought I'd do a quick little addendum or so, looking at this two different passages in the book of Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew, that reference Sodom as a way to help people see that in the ancient context, people saw the sin or the problem with the people in Sodom as being cruel or inhospitable. Chapter 10 of Matthew. Then Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to cure every disease and every sickness. These are the names of the 12 disciples. Excuse me. It says apostles and it should be disciples, but anyway. And we have a list. First Simon, also known as Peter, and his brother Andrew, James, son of Zebedee, yada, 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 yada. These 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions. Go nowhere among the Gentiles. Enter no town of the Samaritans, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. As you go, proclaim the good news, quote, the kingdom of heaven has come near, end quote. Cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. You have received without payment, give without payment. Take no gold or silver or copper in your belts, no bag for your journey, or 2 tunics or sandals or a staff, for laborers deserve their food. This is a very interesting, business plan here. Whatever town or village you enter, find out who in it is worthy and stay there until you leave. As you enter the house, greet it. If the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, shake off the dust from your feet as you leave that house or town. Truly, I tell you, it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment than for that town. Notice, whoever it is that's saying these words, actually, it's being attributed to Jesus, who is a Jewish man in the first century, and he understands that the issue here is about people welcoming the message, the messenger, whatever. And so comparing this town that would be unwelcoming, right, to Sodom and Gomorrah it seems to me, a pretty clear indication that whoever's writing this, attributing it to Jesus, thinks of Sodom and Gomorrah that way, as would, it seems, Jesus himself have thought of it that way. There's another reference in the next chapter, actually, in chapter 11 of Matthew. There's another, kind of instructions to his disciples, going out and teaching and doing all this stuff, yada, yada. I'm skipping down to verse 20 of chapter 11, skipping what might be relevant, but it's just kind of jumping to the main point here. Verse 20 of chapter 11, then he began to reproach, so he being Jesus, began to reproach the cities in which most of his deeds of power had been done because they did not repent. In other words, they didn't receive the message he was sending and behave accordingly, right? And so there's this quote, woe to you, Chorazin, woe to you, Bethsaida, for if the deeds of power done in you had been done in these other 2 cities, Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I tell you, on the day of judgment, it will be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon, who didn't repent, than for you. And you, Capernaum, will you be exalted to heaven? No, you will be brought down to Hades. For if the deeds of power done in you had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. They would have repented. They would have seen the message or whatever, seen what's going on and changed their ways. But I tell you that on the day of judgment, it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom than for you. Clearly, he's not talking to entire cities and towns and swaths of people who are being judged for their sexual orientation. Clearly, the issue is about character way beyond that they're not welcoming or that they're not receiving the message. Okay? I just thought that was kind of, thought that before. I just have never looked up the passages to connect it all as I'm talking about Sodom, the story in Sodom. And so I thought I would do that here for those who might be interested in knowing what those passages are. So 2 chapters in Matthew, at least, and there are other references as well, but these make it clear. And for those who might care about it, it's connected to Jesus this way. So I think that can be really helpful and powerful for people to see it put into the mouth of Jesus, into his words, things that he's saying. Obviously, Jewish men in the first century it was about cruelty, not about some form of sexual orientation. I hope that's helpful. See you next time.